Hi everyone. Okay, let's jump into some calculations. I want to do a mid just for comparison and also to make sure we haven't mixed you up with all this talk about tangent lines. The calculation is still what it was. And then I also want to do a trapezoid rule so that you can see how that looks. Okay, so I'm trying to go from 0 to 2, and I'm doing that with 4 rectangles. So we're going to have to go from 0 to 1/2, and then 1/2 to 1, and 1 to 1.5, and 1.5 to 2. So that's where the edges of my rectangles will lie. To get the heights, I actually have to go in the middle. So I'm going to be taking 0.25 as a height. I'm going to take 0.75. I'm going to take 1.25. And a 1.75. Okay, so again, not to be confused, trapezoid is the middle y value, midpoint rule is the middle x value. So we find the middle x value and then we use it to find y. So we're just going to be plugging back up into this formula to find our y values. And you can absolutely go ahead and plot a graph of that if it helps you to have that visual. So we've gone over 1, up 4, so this is rough, but it's going to go something like this, and this should cross at 3, I think. So we're working on this little chunk right in here. So absolutely use graphs as needed. They're fantastic. Okay, so for this one, we're going to take 4 minus 0.25 minus 1 quantity squared. And I preemptively typed that in and got 3.4375. And then I'm going to go back in my formula and I'm going to plug in 0.75 instead of 0.25. And for that one, I got 3.9375. And then I'm going to go to 1.25, so I'm going to go back into my formula and change x to 1.25, and I think that even makes sense in my picture. I actually got the exact same thing, 3.9375. So what's happening there? If this is right at 1, then we've just hit on opposite sides of the vertex, so I think it makes sense that I got the same thing, and I actually think now that I'm going to see that again. And I'm going to change this to a 1.75, and indeed I did, 3.4375, because again we're hitting on either side of the vertex equal distance away, so we're getting some really nice symmetry in there. Okay, so if we want to actually calculate m sub 4, we just found all our y values. But don't forget that you also have to multiply each of those heights by the width. And the width of each rectangle is our delta x of 0.5. So I need 0.5 times 3.4375, 3.9375, plus another one of those, plus a 3.4375. Okay, so let's see if I can do that nicely in here. Okay, so I think if I'm being a good calculator user, that should give you 7.375. Okay, so that's our value of mid, so no great change there. There is a question about the error associated with this estimate, and you can just do that by actually calculating the value of the derivative. So if we go in and we say, I want to check out, maybe, there we go. Wolfram alpha. And I want to, hold on, let me type just a little bit. Integrate. Forgot it. 4 minus x minus 1 squared from x equals 0 to 2. That should give us the exact value of the integral, 7.3333. Well, exact, that's probably rounded, 7 1/3, but we'll take it. We'll say 7.33, repeating. There we go. We'll do it that way. I don't use that notation very often. So it looks like midpoint rule was a very slight overestimate. So our error, if I just subtract, our error was about 0.042. So just a little bit of error, nothing too terrible, but we do have some. And that, again, what did we catch? We caught a little bit of extra, so that was an overestimate. Okay, so let's go ahead and do trapezoid rule. So for trapezoid rule, we actually do want the y values at the endpoint. So we really will want 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and 2. We won't need the things in between. So for this one, let's see, if I plug in 0, I got 2, and if I plug in 1, I got 4. I'm kind of cheating from earlier when I was doing my, looking at the graph and such. Okay, so if I plug in 0, 1, 2. Okay, so if I plug in 1/2, let me check that out. I get 3.75. And if I plug in 1/2, I think I should hit that symmetry again and get 3.75. And then if I plug in 2, I think I should hit that symmetry again and get 2. And, oh, wait a minute, 3, am I counting wrong? Ooh, good thing I checked it. It's 3. I tricked myself looking back up at my graph, but I did say that earlier that it crosses at 3. Okay, so those are the y values that I'm going to need to use. And what trapezoid rule does is it says, let me get my delta x down here. So t sub 4, you will multiply everything by 0.5, so you can factor that out again, just like before. But then in here, you're going to be taking those two y values and averaging them. So you're going to go 3 plus 3.75 over 2, and then 3.75 plus 4 over 2, and then 4 plus 3.75 over 2, and 3.75 plus 3 over 2. So we do have some repeat, but it's just because of the function that we're using. So let's see, let's go ahead and do just a little bit of calculation here. So, okay, let's see, the 0.5 is out here, and when I crunched this, what did I get? I got 14.5, so then if we cut it in half, we're getting 7.25. Okay, so trapezoid rule gives me 7.25. And again, we're looking at what is the error associated with this. So we can go back to our exact, and if we take that and we subtract it off, 7.33, we're getting an error of about negative 0.08. Well, and actually we could even leave the sign and let's just say over under so that I don't mix myself up too much. But it is true, the negative does lead me to say underestimate, so that's good. And notice that what I kind of mentioned before when we were looking at the picture, we're seeing it here. We're seeing that 1 is an overestimate again and 1 is an underestimate. And in fact, I'll even point out a little more. Notice that the error associated with the trapezoid rule is about double the error associated with the midpoint rule. So if we were going to jump in and do Simpson's rule and average those out, that's how you decide the weights. You weight them a little bit more to balance out the fact that one is always a little bigger than the other. Okay, so that's how it looks given a formula. Again, kind of tedious every once in a while on these. I would remind you again for T sub 4, if you'd rather, you could just do L sub 4 and R sub 4. Because we're getting pretty used to doing those, I imagine. And then you would just say T sub 4 is L sub 4 plus, I said it, but I didn't write it, R sub 4 over 2. So you can absolutely do that instead of writing out all the averaged y values if you would like to. That's up to you. I'm fine either way. Okay, thanks for watching.